Alien Emperor gave a disabled dragon to human mechanic as a joke, but regretted it bitterly. Before we dive into this story, drop a quick hi in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. It really helps support the channel. Amid the sprawling metal canyons of Starport Omega, Tyler Grant hunched over his workbench, grease-stained hands deftly manipulating the innards of a quantum compressor as the shadow of the Zushian Empire loomed over human territories like a gathering storm. The message arrived on Tyler's worn datapad with a soft ping that nearly got lost among the cacophony of his workshop. Hydraulic presses hissed, diagnostic machines beeped, and the ever-present hum of the ventilation system struggled to keep up with the heat generated by his welding equipment. Tyler wiped his hands on a rag that had long ago lost its original color and tapped the screen. Human mechanic Tyler Grant. The message read in the stilted translation of Zushian to Standard English. Your presence is requested at Imperial Docking Bay 17 for an assignment of great importance. Transport has been arranged. Arrive within the hour. Tyler frowned. The Zexians weren't known for their sense of humor, and they certainly weren't known for seeking out human assistance. The Empire had conquered half the known galaxy with their superior technology and their bioengineered war beasts, the most fearsome of which were their dragons, massive reptilian creatures enhanced with cybernetic components and weapon systems that made them living, breathing engines of destruction. Blake, I'm heading out, Tyler called to his assistant, who emerged from beneath the chassis of a hover transport. Got summoned by the Zexians. Blake Turner raised an eyebrow. The Zexians? What do those scale faces want with you? Guess I'll find out, Tyler replied, grabbing his toolkit. If I'm not back in 24 hours, sell my tools and buy yourself something nice. The transport that arrived was sleek, gleaming with the distinctive purple-black metal alloy the Zexians favored. Two soldiers, tall, bipedal reptilians with scales that shimmered between green and violet depending on the light, flanked Tyler as he boarded. The Emperor himself requests your presence, one of them said, mandibles clicking with what Tyler recognized as barely contained disdain. Tyler felt his stomach drop. Emperor Vazirok, ruler of the Zushian Empire, was known for his cruelty as much as his tactical brilliance. Humans had managed to avoid direct conflict with the Zexians thus far, maintaining an uneasy neutrality by providing trade and technical services while staying out of the Empire's expansionist path. The journey to the Imperial flagship took less than 20 minutes. Tyler spent the time mentally cataloging every interaction he'd had with Zexians in the past year, wondering which of them might have landed him in trouble. He came up empty. The Imperial flagship, Eternal Dominion, was a marvel of engineering that would have left Tyler breathless under different circumstances. The docking bay alone was larger than the entire human spaceport he called home, filled with sleek fighter craft and, more ominously, rows of dragon stalls where the bioengineered weapons rested between deployments. Tyler was escorted through corridors of polished obsidian, past Zushian nobles who turned their elongated heads to stare at the human interloper. The throne room was vast, dimly lit, and uncomfortably warm. At its center, upon a raised dais, sat Emperor Vazirok. The Zushian ruler was larger than any of his species Tyler had seen before, his scales a deep purple that bordered on black. A crest of bony protrusions ran from his forehead down his spine, glinting with embedded tech that Tyler couldn't begin to identify. His eyes were multifaceted, like those of an insect, reflecting Tyler's image back at him 1,000 times over. The human mechanic arrives, Vazirok said, his voice surprisingly melodious for a creature with such fearsome appearance. I have heard interesting things about your species' aptitude for improvisation. Tyler bowed slightly, keeping his eyes up as he'd been taught. Looking down was a sign of submission in Zushian culture, and humans had learned early on that showing submission often led to exploitation. I'm honored by your attention, Emperor, Tyler said carefully. How may I be of service? A ripple of something that might have been amusement passed through the assembled Zushian courtiers. Emperor Vazirok's mandibles twitched. I have a gift for you, human, the Emperor said. A token of my appreciation for your species' continued cooperation. At a gesture from the Emperor, a side door opened, and two Zushian handlers dragged forward a creature that made Tyler's breath catch in his throat. It was a dragon, but unlike any he had seen in the propaganda videos or military parades. This dragon was smaller than the war beasts, perhaps the size of a large earth horse. Its scales were a dull gray rather than the vibrant colors of its battle-ready cousins. Most notably, it was missing its left wing and rear leg, with crude prosthetics attached that appeared non-functional. Implants protruded from its skull and spine, but many were dark, inactive. The creature's eyes, though, they were alert, intelligent, and fixed on Tyler with an intensity that made him shiver. "This is Specimen K-117, Emperor Vazirok said. A failed product of our bioengineering program. It has proven resistant to termination, but lacks the capabilities to serve in our military. A defective model, you might say." The dragon made a soft, keening sound that tugged at something deep in Tyler's chest. "I am gifting this creature to you," the Emperor continued, mandibles spreading in what Tyler recognized as the Zushian equivalent of a smile. "Perhaps human ingenuity can succeed where Zushian science has failed. Or perhaps you will find it makes an amusing pet. Either way, it is yours now." Tyler stared at the dragon, then back at the Emperor, understanding dawning. This was a joke. A test. A way to mock both the disabled dragon and human technological capabilities in one cruel gesture. "Your generosity is overwhelming, Emperor," Tyler said, keeping his voice neutral despite the anger building inside him. "May I approach the dragon?" The Emperor waved a clawed hand in permission. Tyler walked slowly toward the creature, aware that one wrong move could end with him being torn apart. Failed war beast or not, the dragon still had teeth and claws. As he got closer, Tyler could see the poor quality of the prosthetics. They weren't just non-functional. They were actively causing the dragon pain. The connection points were inflamed, and the materials were completely wrong for the purpose. It was almost as if they had been designed to fail. Tyler knelt a few feet from the dragon, extending his hand slowly, palm up. "Hey there," he said softly. The dragon's pupils dilated, nostrils flaring as it caught Tyler's scent. Then, to the visible shock of the Zushian handlers, it lowered its head and pushed its snout gently against Tyler's palm. A telepathic connection bloomed in Tyler's mind, sudden and startling. Not words, exactly, but emotions and impressions. Pain, loneliness, fear, and, unexpectedly, hope. Tyler rose to his feet, turning to face the Emperor. "I accept your gift with gratitude, Emperor Vazirok. I'll need transport large enough to accommodate K-117. The Emperor's multifaceted eyes glittered. "You truly accept this broken thing? How amusing. Very well, transport will be arranged. Do let me know if you manage to make any improvements. I do enjoy a good entertainment." As Tyler left the throne room with the dragon limping beside him, he heard the Zushian courtiers laughing. He placed a gentle hand on the dragon's flank, feeling the creature lean into his touch. "Don't worry," he whispered. "They won't be laughing for long." Getting the dragon back to his workshop proved challenging, but not impossible. The Zexians provided transport as promised, though Tyler suspected it was only because they wanted to see how long this joke would play out. Blake's face when Tyler walked in with a limping, cybernetic dragon at his side was worth every credit in Tyler's savings account. "What in the actual hell?" Blake spluttered, dropping a wrench that clattered loudly against the floor. The dragon flinched at the sound, and Tyler felt another pulse of fear through their nascent mental connection. "Meet K-117, Tyler said, patting the dragon's flank. Emperor Vazirok's idea of a practical joke. They were going to terminate him because he's defective. Blake circled the dragon cautiously. "Since when do you call the most dangerous weapons in the Zushian arsenal him?" Tyler shrugged. "Since I felt him in my head. He's sentient, Blake. And he's suffering." Over the next few days, Tyler learned more about K-117 through their strengthening telepathic bond. The dragon had been part of an experimental batch, designed with enhanced intelligence to serve as both weapons and tactical field commanders. But something in K-117's genetic makeup had made him resistant to the complete mental conditioning the Zexians imposed on their war dragons. He could not be fully controlled, and so he had been deemed a failure. The injuries that left him disabled hadn't been accidental either. They were punishment for his resistance, deliberate mutilation to break his spirit. "They wanted you to give up," Tyler said one evening as he worked to detach the painful, crude prosthetics. "But you didn't, did you?" In response, he felt a surge of fierce pride from the dragon, followed by gratitude as Tyler removed the last of the ill-fitting devices. "I'm going to build you something better," Tyler promised. "Something that works with your body instead of against it. And then we're going to show Emperor Vazirok exactly what a human mechanic and a defective dragon can do together." Tyler threw himself into the project with an intensity that surprised even Blake. He studied everything he could find about Zexian bioengineering, called in favors from contacts throughout the human territories to acquire specialized materials, and spent endless hours designing and fabricating new prosthetics for K-117. "You need a better name than a serial number," Tyler said one night as he made adjustments to the prototype wing frame. "Something with dignity. What do you think of Phoenix?" The dragon considered, then sent a pulse of approval through their mental link. Phoenix it was. The new prosthetics were marvels of human engineering combined with salvaged Zexian tech. For the missing rear leg, Tyler created a limb with adaptive joints that learned from Phoenix's movements, adjusting to provide optimal support and mobility. The wing was more challenging, requiring lightweight but strong materials that could support the dragon's weight during flight while interfacing correctly with his nervous system. Most crucially, Tyler redesigned the neural interfaces for all the implants, replacing the crude Zexian control mechanisms with systems that responded to Phoenix's own thoughts and intentions. No more pain, no more external control. 3 months after Emperor Vazirok's gift, Phoenix stood in the center of Tyler's workshop, his new prosthetics gleaming. The wing extended gracefully, its synthetic membrane catching the light. The rear leg moved smoothly as Phoenix shifted his weight. The implants along his spine and skull glowed with steady blue light, fully functional and responsive. "How does it feel?" Tyler asked, though he could already sense the answer through their bond. Phoenix unfurled his wings, one natural, one artificial, but no less magnificent, and let out a roar that shook dust from the rafters. Joy, pure and powerful, flooded their connection. "I think we're ready for a test flight," Tyler said, grinning. They chose the wastelands beyond the spaceport for Phoenix's first flight with his new wing. Tyler rode on the dragon's back, heart pounding with exhilaration as Phoenix gathered himself, then leaped into the air. There was a moment of uncertainty, a wobble as the prosthetic wing caught the air differently than its natural counterpart. But then Phoenix adjusted, his enhanced brain working with the adaptive systems Tyler had built. And they flew. The sensation was unlike anything Tyler had ever experienced. The wind rushed past his face, the ground fell away beneath them, and Phoenix's joy became his own in a feedback loop of pure elation. They soared over the wastelands, banking and diving and climbing again, each maneuver more confident than the last as Phoenix learned the capabilities of his new body. When they finally landed, Tyler slid from Phoenix's back on shaky legs, laughing with the sheer delight of it all. "That was amazing. You're amazing." Phoenix bumped his snout against Tyler's chest, sending waves of gratitude and affection. Then, unexpectedly, words formed in Tyler's mind. Not just impressions or emotions, but actual words. "We show Emperor now?" Tyler blinked in surprise. The neural interfaces he'd designed had enhanced their telepathic connection beyond what he'd anticipated. "You can speak to me now?" "Learning. Better every day. Like new parts." Pride colored the simple thoughts. "We show Emperor what human mechanic and broken dragon can do." Tyler grinned, patting Phoenix's neck. "Oh, we'll show him all right. But first, we need to practice. And I need to make a few more adjustments." For the next month, Tyler continued refining Phoenix's prosthetics, while the dragon's telepathic speech improved rapidly. They trained together daily, flying farther and attempting more complex aerial maneuvers. Phoenix's natural weapons, his claws, teeth, and flame glands, were fully functional, and Tyler augmented them with some defensive systems of his own design. Not for conquest or destruction, but for protection. Word of the human mechanic and his rehabilitated dragon began to spread. Other humans came to watch their practice flights, and soon Tyler was receiving requests to examine other defective, cybernetic creatures that the Zexians had discarded. A Nexan merchant brought him a cybernetic hunting cat with malfunctioning optical implants. An Altarian diplomat arrived with a bird-like creature whose sonic weapons had been deemed unstable. Tyler helped them all, with Phoenix often serving as a translator thanks to his growing telepathic abilities. The workshop became something of a rehabilitation center for cast-off Zishian biotech, and Tyler's reputation grew. It was only a matter of time before word reached Emperor Vazirok. The summons came 6 months after Tyler had first brought Phoenix home. Once again, a Zishian transport arrived at his workshop, but this time, Tyler wasn't going alone. "Are you sure about this?" Blake asked as Tyler prepared to leave, Phoenix standing proudly beside him. The Emperor isn't known for his sense of humor when the joke's on him. "We're sure," Tyler said, feeling Phoenix's agreement resonate through their bond. It's time to show the Emperor exactly what his gift has become. As they boarded the transport, the Zishian soldiers stared in undisguised shock at Phoenix, whose prosthetics now functioned so seamlessly that only their metallic sheen distinguished them from his natural limbs. The dragon held himself with dignity, head high, no longer the broken creature they had once dragged before their emperor. The journey to the Imperial flagship seemed shorter this time. Tyler felt calm, Phoenix's steady presence in his mind a constant reassurance. They had practiced what they would say, what they would demonstrate. This wasn't about revenge, it was about showing a better way. The throne room was more crowded than before, word having spread that the human mechanic was returning with the Emperor's joke gift. Emperor Vazirok sat upon his throne, his multifaceted eyes fixed on Phoenix as Tyler and the dragon entered. "Impressive," the Emperor said after a long silence. "You have indeed achieved what our scientists could not, or perhaps simply would not." K-117 appears, functional. "His name is Phoenix," Tyler corrected quietly. "And he's more than functional. He's extraordinary." At that, Phoenix unfurled his wings, the prosthetic one extending as perfectly as its natural counterpart. A murmur ran through the assembled Zexians. "You've made cosmetic improvements," the Emperor said dismissively. "But a warrior is judged by more than appearance. What can your Phoenix actually do?" Tyler smiled. "Why don't you ask him yourself?" Before the Emperor could respond, Phoenix projected his thoughts, not just to Tyler, but to everyone in the throne room, a feat Tyler hadn't known he was capable of. "I am Phoenix," the telepathic voice rang out, causing several Zexians to step back in alarm. Once called K-117, once broken, now whole, thanks to human Tyler Grant. Not Zishin cruelty. Emperor Vazirok rose from his throne, his crest flaring in what Tyler recognized as a sign of agitation. "Impossible." The telepathic capabilities were limited, controlled. Tyler agreed. "Until I replaced your control mechanisms with interfaces that work with Phoenix's mind instead of trying to dominate it. Your scientists were so focused on control that they missed the potential for true partnership." The Emperor descended from his dais, approaching Phoenix cautiously. "And what would you do with your newfound freedom, creature? Seek revenge against those who hurt you." Phoenix's response was calm, dignified. "Revenge, small thinking. Partnership better. Cooperation better. Your dragons could be allies, not slaves. Stronger together." Emperor Vazirok circled Phoenix, examining the prosthetics with newfound interest. "And if I were to order my guards to seize you both right now? To take you apart and see how these improvements were achieved?" Tyler felt a spike of alarm, but Phoenix remained steady, his thought voice unwavering. "Then you would learn nothing of value. Partnership cannot be dissected. Trust cannot be reverse-engineered." For a long moment, the throne room was silent save for the soft hum of Phoenix's cybernetic components. Then, to Tyler's amazement, Emperor Vazirok laughed, a strange, hissing sound that nevertheless held genuine amusement. A human mechanic and a defective dragon, Emperor Vazirok said, his multifaceted eyes glittering, together achieving what the finest minds of the Zushian Empire could not, or would not, as you suggest. How humbling. Tyler stayed alert, not trusting the Emperor's sudden shift in tone. Through their bond, he could feel Phoenix's caution as well. I wonder, the Emperor continued, returning to his throne with fluid grace, what other surprises might come from such unexpected partnerships. Tell me, human Tyler Grant, what exactly did you do differently? Tyler took a careful step forward. I listened. Your scientists tried to override Phoenix's will to force compliance. I worked with him, building systems that amplify his natural abilities rather than replacing them with programmed responses. A partnership rather than dominance, the Emperor mused. A novel approach, certainly. But how do you ensure loyalty without absolute control? Trust, Tyler said simply. Phoenix is loyal because he chooses to be, not because he's forced. That kind of loyalty is stronger than any programming. The Emperor's mandibles clicked together in what Tyler had learned was a gesture of consideration. A demonstration would be illuminating, something to show the practical advantages of your approach. Tyler glanced at Phoenix, receiving a pulse of agreement through their bond. What kind of demonstration did you have in mind? 2 hours later, Tyler found himself in a massive combat arena deep within the Eternal Dominion. Phoenix stood beside him, mental barriers raised as they both surveyed the opposition. 3 standard war dragons, their scales gleaming with weapons implants, eyes vacant with the neural constraints that kept them under Zushian control. This is madness, Tyler muttered, checking Phoenix's systems one last time. We can't fight 3 war dragons. Not fight, Phoenix corrected in his mind. Show different way. Emperor watches. Others watch. Important. The rules were simple, according to Emperor Vazirok. Phoenix and Tyler would face the 3 war dragons in a training exercise. They didn't need to defeat them, merely survive for 10 minutes while demonstrating the advantages of their partnership approach. The arena's force shields hummed to life as the countdown began. Tyler mounted Phoenix, settling into the custom saddle he'd designed that interfaced with the dragon's neural systems, allowing for smoother communication during flight. Remember the plan, Tyler said as the countdown reached 0. We're not here to hurt anyone. The 3 war dragons roared in unison as their handlers activated their combat protocols. They charged forward with mechanical precision, flame glands glowing as they prepared to attack. Phoenix launched into the air, his prosthetic wing working perfectly as they gained altitude just ahead of a blast of fire from the lead dragon. The mental link between Tyler and Phoenix allowed for instantaneous communication, giving them an advantage in maneuverability that the control-stunted war dragons couldn't match. 2 coming from below, Tyler thought, and Phoenix banked sharply, looping behind a structural pillar as the war dragons pursued. What followed was a deadly aerial dance. The war dragons had raw power and weaponry on their side, but Phoenix had something they lacked: initiative. He could make split-second decisions without waiting for commands, anticipating attacks, and responding with a creativity that left the war dragon's handlers struggling to keep up. Tyler's contribution was equally vital. Through their bond, he analyzed the war dragon's attack patterns, identifying weaknesses in their programming that Phoenix could exploit. When one dragon's flame gland overheated, a common issue in the standard models, Tyler directed Phoenix to fly past the exposed cooling vents on its neck, creating turbulence that triggered an automatic shutdown sequence. From his observation platform, Emperor Vazirok watched with growing interest as Phoenix outmaneuvered his war dragons, never attacking directly, but consistently staying one step ahead of their programmed responses. 5 minutes into the demonstration, the lead war dragon managed to clip Phoenix's prosthetic wing with a blast of superheated plasma. Tyler felt Phoenix's pain flare through their bond, but the damage-adaptive systems he'd built immediately compensated, rerouting neural signals and adjusting wing tension to maintain flight capability. You okay? Tyler asked mentally. Phoenix's response came with grim determination, functioning at 87%, enough to finish demonstration. As the 10-minute mark approached, the War Dragon's attacks grew more desperate, their handlers pushing them beyond safe operational parameters in an attempt to corner Phoenix. One dragon's eyes began to flicker between their normal yellow and an alarming red as its systems approached critical failure. Tyler recognized the warning signs immediately. That dragon's going to crash. Its neural regulators are overloading. The affected War Dragon suddenly convulsed mid-flight, its wings seizing as the neural overload cascaded through its systems. It began to plummet toward the arena floor, where its impact would likely be fatal. Without hesitation, Phoenix dove, intercepting the falling dragon despite Tyler's instinctive alarm. Using his own body as a buffer, Phoenix slowed the stricken dragon's descent, taking the brunt of the impact as they hit the arena floor together. The pain that shot through their bond nearly made Tyler black out, but Phoenix's systems held. The fallen War Dragon lay stunned but alive, its handlers staring in disbelief from the control platform. The arena fell silent as the remaining War Dragons circled uncertainly, their programming insufficient to process this unexpected development. Phoenix rose shakily to his feet, standing protectively over the fallen dragon as his damaged systems recalibrated. Demonstration concluded. Emperor Vazirok's voice echoed through the arena. Most enlightening. Later, in a private chamber adjacent to the Emperor's own quarters, medical technicians tended to Phoenix's injuries, while Tyler explained the finer points of his neural interface designed to a group of attentive Zishian scientists. The key is working with their existing neural architecture instead of overriding it, Tyler explained, projecting schematics that showed the differences between standard Zishian control implants and his adaptive interfaces. Less energy consumption, faster response times, and no risk of neural cascade failures like what we saw in the arena. The lead scientist, a female Zishian named Sathra, studied the designs with open fascination. And the telepathic enhancement? That was not part of the original K-117 design specifications. That was actually Phoenix's doing more than mine, Tyler admitted. Once I removed the constraints on his neural development, his brain formed new pathways. The interface I designed just helps focus and amplify what was already there. Emperor Vazirok entered the chamber, causing the scientists to bow deeply. Tyler remained standing, one hand resting on Phoenix's flank. Your demonstration has given us much to consider, Human Tyler Grant, the Emperor said. Centuries of Zishian bioengineering philosophy challenged by one human mechanic with primitive tools. Tyler bristled slightly at the primitive description but kept his expression neutral. Different approaches, different results. Indeed. The Emperor turned his attention to Phoenix. And you, once K-117. You chose to save your opponent at risk to yourself. Explain this decision. Phoenix's telepathic voice was weaker than usual due to his injuries, but clear in its resolve. All dragons deserve chance. Like I had chance. Better together than broken alone. The Emperor was silent for a long moment, his alien features unreadable to Tyler. Finally, he spoke again. I propose an arrangement, Human Tyler Grant. You will remain here, teaching our scientists your methods. In exchange, you will have access to our facilities, our resources, and any defective specimens currently scheduled for termination. Tyler felt Phoenix's surprise mirroring his own. You want me to work for the Zishian Empire? The Emperor corrected, using Tyler's own terminology. I want you to work with the Zishian Empire. Beginning with K-118 through K-125, Phoenix's clutchmates who share his resistance to standard conditioning. Tyler's mind raced. More dragons like Phoenix, saved from destruction. Access to Zishian technology that could help not just these creatures, but potentially advance human medical prosthetics by decades. But at what cost? I need guarantees, Tyler said cautiously. Freedom to work according to my own methods. No forced conditioning of the dragons. And I'd need to be able to communicate regularly with my people. Reasonable terms. The Emperor agreed with surprising ease. Though I would add one condition of my own. The results of your work remain exclusively within the Empire. Your rehabilitation methods will not be shared with potential adversaries. Tyler considered this. I can agree not to share specific technical details, but the general approach, partnership over control, that's not something I'm willing to keep secret. Ideas spread, Emperor Vazirok, whether we want them to or not. The Emperor's mandibles clicked in what Tyler now recognized as amusement. So they do, human Tyler Grant. So they do. Very well, we have an arrangement. Thus began what would later be known as the Phoenix Protocol, a revolutionary approach to bioengineering that transformed the Zushian Empire from within. Tyler worked with Phoenix to rehabilitate the other resistant dragons, creating a new division of dragon partners rather than dragon weapons. Word spread throughout the Empire, despite the Emperor's attempts at secrecy. Other defective, cybernetic creatures were brought to Tyler rather than being destroyed. Each success story strengthened the growing movement within Zushian society, questioning centuries of control-based engineering. 6 months into his work, Tyler received an unexpected visitor in his new laboratory within the Imperial Science Complex. Blake Turner arrived, escorted by Zushian guards, but treated with surprising respect. "They're calling you the Dragon Whisperer back home," Blake said after an enthusiastic reunion. "Half the human territories think you've been eaten, the other half think you've gone native. And now I find you've got your own Zushian science division." Tyler laughed, gesturing around the vast laboratory where several humans now worked alongside Zushian scientists, with rehabilitated dragons and other cybernetic creatures moving freely among them. "Not exactly what I expected when I got that first summons," Tyler admitted. "But the work we're doing here, Blake, it's changing things. Not just for the creatures we save, but for relations between humans and Zexians." Blake's expression grew serious. "That's actually why I'm here. The Human Diplomatic Corps sent me. They want to formalize what you've started here, create an official exchange program for human engineers and Zushian scientists." Tyler blinked in surprise. Emperor Vazirok agreed to that. Reluctantly, Blake said with a grin. But apparently some of his advisors made a very compelling case about the advantages of partnership over dominance. Sound familiar? Later that evening, Tyler sat with Phoenix on an observation deck overlooking the vast Imperial fleet. The dragon's injuries from the arena demonstration had healed completely, his prosthetics functioning better than ever after upgrades made with Zushian materials. "Did you ever imagine this?" Tyler asked, watching as a formation of dragons flew past, some with prosthetic limbs or wings like Phoenix's, all with the alert, intelligent gaze of partners rather than the vacant stare of weapons. "Not imagine," Phoenix replied, his telepathic voice now rich with nuance and personality after months of development. "But hoped. Even when broken, hoped for something better." Tyler nodded, understanding completely. The Emperor still thinks he's controlling this situation, you know. Still believes he can keep the partnership model contained within the military, within his control. Phoenix made a rumbling sound that Tyler had come to recognize as laughter. Emperor learning. Slowly, but learning. Control illusion. Cooperation reality. A week later, Emperor Vazirok summoned Tyler to his private observatory. The human found the Zushian ruler staring out at the stars, his usual entourage of advisors and guards conspicuously absent. "My intelligence officers tell me that 3 of my rival houses have begun experimenting with modified neural interfaces for their own war beasts," the Emperor said without preamble. "Crude attempts to replicate your work without understanding its fundamental principles." Tyler had expected this. Ideas spread, as I said they would. Indeed. The Emperor turned to face him. "What you may not have anticipated is that several of these creatures have escaped their facilities, seeking you out specifically. They know your name, Tyler Grant. Word has spread among the cybernetic beasts themselves." That was unexpected. Tyler felt a chill run down his spine. "How is that possible?" "Phoenix," the Emperor said simply. "His telepathic abilities have grown beyond what either of us anticipated. He has been communicating with other enhanced creatures across vast distances, sharing stories of their rehabilitation." Tyler thought of Phoenix, currently working with a newly rescued clutch of dragons. He never mentioned this to me. Perhaps he wished to protect you from the knowledge of your growing influence, the Emperor said. Or perhaps he understood that some initiatives are best conducted without official awareness. The Emperor's multifaceted eyes studied Tyler intently. You have created something I cannot control, human mechanic. A movement that spreads not through official channels, but through the minds of creatures I once believed were merely tools. I find myself facing a choice: attempt to suppress this movement and likely fail, or adapt to a new reality. Tyler held the alien ruler's gaze steadily. What have you decided? I am announcing the formal adoption of the Phoenix Protocol throughout the Empire, the Emperor said. All cybernetic creatures will be transitioned to partnership models rather than control-based systems. And you, Tyler Grant, will oversee this transition as Imperial Bioethics Advisor. Tyler stared at the Emperor in shock. That's not what I expected you to say. The hallmark of a successful Emperor is recognizing when resistance is more costly than adaptation, Vazirok said pragmatically. Your approach has demonstrated superior results in every measurable metric. The Empire will benefit from its implementation, even if it requires adjusting certain traditional perspectives. What the Emperor didn't say, but what Tyler understood clearly, was that Vazirok was choosing to position himself at the head of a change he couldn't prevent, claiming credit for a revolution that had begun despite him rather than because of him. And the Human Diplomatic Initiative? Tyler asked. Blake mentioned an exchange program. Will proceed under your supervision, the Emperor confirmed. Though I suspect such formal arrangements are almost redundant now. Your Phoenix has created his own diplomacy network, has he not? Over the following year, the changes spread throughout the Zushian Empire like ripples in a pond. The Phoenix Protocol transformed not just the military, but every aspect of Zushian bioengineering. Creatures once seen as tools became partners, their natural intelligence and abilities enhanced rather than suppressed. Human-Zushian relations flourished under the exchange program, with human engineers bringing their talent for adaptive problem-solving while learning from Zushian biological expertise. The results benefited both species, leading to medical and technological breakthroughs that would have been impossible in isolation. Phoenix became something of a celebrity throughout the Empire, the once discarded defective dragon now a symbol of the new approach. His telepathic abilities continued to develop, allowing him to coordinate a network of enhanced creatures that became known as the Phoenix Circuit, a communication system that operated alongside but independent from official Imperial channels. 2 years after that first summons to the Imperial flagship, Tyler stood beside Emperor Vazirok on the reviewing platform as the first official wing of partnership dragons performed an aerial display that left the assembled dignitaries breathless with admiration. Each dragon flew with a human or Zushian partner, their movements synchronized with a precision and creativity that the old control systems could never have achieved. Your joke gift turned out rather expensive in the end, didn't it? Tyler said quietly to the Emperor as they watched the display. Emperor Vazirok's mandibles twitched in what Tyler now knew was rueful amusement. The most costly jest of my reign, certainly, though perhaps also the most valuable lesson. Phoenix led the aerial formation, his prosthetic wing catching the sunlight as he executed a perfect spiraling dive before pulling up to hover before the platform. In his mind, Tyler felt the dragon's satisfaction, not just at his own rehabilitation, but at the transformation his suffering had ultimately sparked. Worth it? Tyler asked mentally. Phoenix's response filled not just Tyler's mind, but extended to all the assembled dragons and many of the gathered spectators, a deliberate demonstration of his now formidable abilities. Every moment of pain, every moment of fear, all worth this. Not just for me, for all of us, for future. As the aerial display concluded to thunderous applause, Tyler found himself reflecting on the strange journey that had brought him here. From a small workshop on the edges of human territory to the heart of the Zushian Empire, all because an alien emperor had thought to make a cruel joke with a disabled dragon. The bitter regret the emperor had initially felt at his miscalculation had transformed, over time, into a grudging appreciation for the changes that had been set in motion. The empire was stronger now, its technological approach more sustainable, its relations with humans and other species more productive. "You know," Tyler said to Phoenix later as they watched the twin moons rise over the imperial capital, "back on Earth, we have an old saying. He who laughs last, laughs best." Phoenix rumbled his dragon laugh. "Then we laugh best. But not at Emperor. With Emperor. Better way." Tyler nodded, scratching the scales behind Phoenix's crest in the spot he particularly enjoyed. Better way indeed. Years later, historians would point to the Phoenix Protocol as the turning point in Zacian-human relations, the moment when two vastly different civilizations found common ground through an unexpected partnership between a human mechanic and a disabled dragon. Emperor Vazirok, for all his initial cruelty, would ultimately be remembered as the ruler who, however reluctantly, allowed innovation to flourish where tradition had failed. And Tyler Grant, the human mechanic, became a legend throughout the galaxy, proof that compassion and ingenuity could transform not just individual lives, but entire empires. His workshop on Starport Omega became a museum, visited by humans and Zexians alike, all coming to see where the revolution began. As for Phoenix, he outlived both Tyler and Emperor Vazirok, continuing to lead the network of enhanced creatures that became a civilization in its own right, partnered with but distinct from their creators. His story was told and retold across 1,000 worlds, a reminder that what others discard as broken might, with the right care and respect, become the catalyst for profound change. In the end, the alien emperor's cruel joke had indeed turned bitter, but only for those who clung to the old ways of domination and control. For everyone else, it had opened the door to a future brighter than either humans or Zexians could have imagined alone. And that was the end of the story. If you listened all the way to here, don't forget to leave feedback about what you thought of the story in the comments, whether positive or negative. Your feedback helps us improve. Also, leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this one. And I'll leave here on the screen another video that I'm sure you'll like. Big hug, and see you in the next story.